And then we go from the analyst side to the manufacturing side. Happy to have with us Henning Schulze, President for Europe of JA Solar, one of the leading solution providers in solar and in the sector for ages, really one of the pioneers. So we're happy to have you, Henning, and are looking forward to your insights.
Yeah, thank you very much, Michael. Hello to everybody. As introduced by Michael, my name is Henning Schulze, President Europe at JA Solar, and as such, in charge of the European business at JA, as well as global business with European customers. Now, Michael, your team should share my presentation.
Yeah, I think Udaya is doing that.
And that does not look too good. Okay, so yeah, first of all, maybe the first page was not so clear. My presentation is called Insights into the Evolution and Future Trajectory of the PV Industry. First chapter, overview of the global market situation. Jenny has given some insight, obviously also working with the BNEF numbers, and we here have compiled the numbers from S&P. No big differences to what Jenny presented. So 2024 global installations, depending on which scenario you follow, and numbers are coming out, but not all of the markets have reported yet. So depending on which scenario to follow, 2024 saw an installation globally of 545 to about 599, 600 gigawatts. And this year in 2025, the forecast is to reach, or again, seeing which scenario you follow, 586 to 673 gigawatts. Whatever the final numbers will be, what's very important to notice is the red line on the below graph, which shows the global growth rates per year. So here we come from a very high growth rate of 75% in 2023. Last year, 2024, still a very significant growth rate, 27%. But then from this year on, up to 2030, the forecast is that growth rates will decrease to single-digit rates, all within 5, maybe even slightly below 5% per year. So that means that what has been the management of growth in the industry is really turning into how to find ways in the market in a much lower or slower growth than in the past. Where does the growth come from? China is here, the two blues combined, so dark blue and light blue, still forecast to grow. Europe, after 2025, not forecast to grow a lot, steady installation volumes, but not a lot of growth. Then growth in the Americas, in APEC, and also percentage-wise quite significant, but in absolute volumes still the smallest, Africa. Now, if we look at the situation in the industry along or across the silicon supply chain, we are seeing all-time lows when it comes to the prices at which the products get sold, no matter if it is silicon, if it's wafers, cells, or modules. What we see is that because 2023 was a very good year for a lot of manufacturers, and what they did is to take the profit, the cash from 2023 to fight off competition last year. And that has also led to these low prices at which, in the end, none of the steps across the silicon supply chain really made a profit. And the question is, of course, how will this continue? We do already see that polysilicon manufacturers are changing their attitudes. So they are cutting production, leading to slightly higher prices. We also do see that since the start of the year, module prices have recovered slightly. So therefore, the downward trend to some extent has been broken. The question, of course, is how or where will prices be over the course of the year? And frankly speaking, I'm not going to make a big statement here because we've always been surprised often by the development in PV. So I think all of us, we should just make sure that we have very good cooperation relationships with our partners and suppliers or customers in order to make sure that no matter what the situation in the market, we will get through them together. Then allow me to have a bit of a look at JA, so our achievements in 2024, starting with shipments. So the official figures are not out yet, our financial report, but final shipment volume will be above 70 gigawatt peak, ranking amongst the top 3 in the industry. And we can claim that we really have a very global sales network. Our products have been sold into 170 countries and regions across the globe. By the end of Q3, we already achieved 242 gigawatts of total shipments, cumulative shipments, meaning also that in Q4 we then surpassed 250 gigawatts, so a quarter of a terawatt, also some kind of a milestone. And as a technology leader in the industry, we own about 1,900 patents, more than 1,000 of them being invention patents. Our brand is highly recognized, so we just listed the EUPD top brands here. They've been recognized in 25 countries and regions across the globe. And so is our bankability, although this slide admittedly is from the end of 2023, but JA bankability also very highly recognized by financiers, banks, financial institutions that work on financing of PV projects. Further, we've been awarded top performer by PVEL, awarded overall highest achiever by IETC, and something which also is a breakthrough is we've been awarded the silver medal by EcoVadis. And that brings me to the next topic, which is sustainability. So in 2024, we further invested into the sustainability of the company. One point is that in July, we became the first PV company to become part of the task force on nature-related financial disclosure, TNFD. Also in August last year, we published our biodiversity report. So we are not just trying to produce very good panels in order to curb CO2 emissions, but at the same time, we are also looking at our footprint, at our impact on biodiversity, and how to minimize this as much as possible. At the same time, working on creating full life cycle green products. That means from the cradle, and then obviously not to the grave, but from the cradle to making use of the products, or at least their components again, meaning recycling, circular economy. Investing into a diverse, equal, and inclusive management system, and supporting sustainable investment and financing. So it's not only about volume, it's not only about financial benchmarks and numbers, but also very much on the agenda, the activities in sustainability. Another point is we established also last year further cooperations with research institutions across the globe, namely in America, in Australia, and also in the Netherlands. One example being a joint lab we have with the University of New South Wales, which became operative in September last year. Now looking at the future. So first of all, still starting from technology, JA, which a company that started 20 years ago as a pure cell player. So the cell stays our core competency, and therefore also here starting from the technology part. The industry, as you all know, has made the switch from P-type to mainly N-type, TOPCon being the major technology in the industry currently. At the same time, we are in R&D working on further technologies such as HJT, such as several back contact technologies. Here, in our eyes, the race is still open, which is the best base technology for back contact, and the same also applies for tandem. So we're working in R&D on various tandem technologies. Perovskite mentioned here, but it's not the only one we're working on. But if we look at the next slide, this year, 2024, and also for the years to come, or 2025, sorry, and also for the years to come. So TOPCon to be the main technology out in the market, reaching a market share of about 80% this year. And this also over the coming 4 years, according to the graph here, still being very high, a slight decrease of the TOPCon market share from 81%, but still at 75% in 2028. So therefore, for the years to come, TOPCon being the major technology out in the market, with some other technologies I've mentioned them, maybe HJT, back contact, tandem, to move into the market, but market shares over the years to come of those technologies still very limited. And that at JA leads to us, in addition to the R&D investment we do on new technologies, further substantial investment on TOPCon. We are bringing out what is called the Deep Blue 5.0 series, which is a further improved, or which are further improved TOPCon products. In addition to this, I guess you're aware we are one of the few TOPCon patent holders in the market. So in heavily investing into the technology. Now, looking at further changes in the market or new developments, one is modules often do look the same, but they are not exactly the same, or they are not the same. So one point is to look at where modules get installed. And here, what we see is that the design of modules, and especially also the BOM that is used for modules, highly depends nowadays, at least at JA, on the climatic conditions. So what we see is installations near or even on oceans, then deserts, high altitude areas, extremely cold regions, and humid and hot regions. And for the various climatic conditions, we develop, if not a special product design, then at least customized BOMs. So therefore, compared to where we were a few years ago, for sure, higher diversification in terms of when it comes to module production. Again, maybe design, maybe BOM, according to or depending on where the modules will be installed. And the other change that we see is what or how they get installed. Agri-PV, we do see it as a trend. Sometimes using standard products, sometimes asking for also for customized products. And then, sorry, BIPV, may it be roof integrated, may it be facade integrated, may it be color modules, which are coming up again a bit, and also solutions such as carports. So again, from both where modules get installed, under what kind of climatic conditions they get installed, and also how they get installed, we see the industry really becoming more diverse, asking for special solutions, and that obviously then also goes back onto module design and choice of the BOM. Yeah, thank you. And then another big topic are the trade developments, trade barriers. So we all know that a lot of markets have put in place policies that are to channel where the modules installed in these markets are to come from. For us, as or for the module manufacturers, this means to further internationalize the global production footprint. And for the buyers, this means to manage different supply chains depending on where the modules are to be installed. So this also means that looking at the overall capacity and demand numbers, and I'm not questioning them at all, but at the same time, we also have to look, at least for various or for certain markets, how is the supply situation and the supply chain to that market. India being one example, America, like the US, obviously even more. So it's one point to look at really the global production and demand numbers. It is another point to look at what is needed in certain markets in order to comply with the political, legal regimes, and what does the supply chain and the capacity of such a supply chain look like. So I think we should, in more detail, look at various markets and the supply chain to those markets. Then also here, looking at this year, taking out three major markets and the development this year. Brazil, very strong last year. Shipment from China to Brazil, according to the numbers we have, was 23.2 gigawatt with 17 installed, but now a 25% tariff kicking in, and the forecast that the Brazilian market may decline this year. Then India, there's been for quite some time in place several policies supporting local production or making import of modules into the country harder. At the same time, India setting up capacities which can be used locally as well as in other regions in the world. And then China, biggest market in the world yet, nearly 280 gigawatts installed last year. And here we can see some challenges which are exemplary for a lot of markets, which is the decline of the long-standing issues such as grid limitations, policies on land use, and the like. We may discuss about that a bit later in the panel. Further challenge, wind and solar, obviously producing electricity when there's wind and when the sun is shining. So also what Jenny already mentioned, how do grids cope with this? How do we achieve a balance of generation and load? This obviously being one of the major questions for further deployment of solar. And finally, negative electricity prices, which of course are linked to what I just said. In Germany last year, the number is that there were 468 hours of negative electricity prices, an increase of 60% compared to 2023. And also in France, 356 hours of negative electricity prices last year. So what does this mean for the whole industry? What does it mean for the business models of downstream companies, such as developers, such as investors, but also people who may think, okay, I invest into a solar power system and I use the electricity, but what if I can get the electricity for free from the grid instead of having to invest into a solar power system? So the big question, of course, is how do we as an industry avoid to cannibalize ourselves? And going a bit back to JA now on the last slide, we do offer storage solutions. This also for everybody to welcome you to engage into discussions on this. And thank you very much for your attention.